China. So last week I discussed how our favorite Chinese communists are actually one of the best capitalists. In fact, a thought popped into my mind. New economic policy of USSR that was developed by Lenin in 1921. Anyways, so this basically sort of smells of that. They're still regaining their, and this is the clothing they used to wear, and there's a whole culture of this Nepman there. New economic policy. So Chinese Communist Party has announced or Chinese Central Bank, whatever you call them, most aggressive stimulus since the pandemic, and I got this from the news internet. So on 24th of September. Now, I didn't obviously know anything about it. In fact, I'm so skeptical of the Chinese Communist Party, but one thing I'm not skeptical of is that they are the only game in town, and as a result, they need to either get it right or that's it, or it's the end of their rule. And so the only way that they've been getting it right is by expansion of various economic activities over the past however many decades already. And they have achieved great success. Now, obviously, we hear about this great success being achieved basically on borrowed money, and we had news of various calamities that has befallen the Chinese economy, but in a sense it's a calamity of excess. And if we go back to when the new economic policy was first instituted in 1921, it was right after World War I, in which Tsarist Russia lost horribly. And then that was followed by a revolution, revolution followed by a loss in the World War I, followed by civil war that barely ended sometime in the early 20s. As a side note, I am reading currently a gentleman in Moscow, which also begins around that time. So very interesting book. I would recommend it. It's also quite historically accurate. Going back to our Chinese friendly people, what's happening here is that the Chinese Communist Party basically needs to get it right or be ousted. So based on that information, you can trade. However, you need some sort of an anchor, because we need to know, are they going to be stimulating here in May of 2023, or are they going to be stimulating later? In either case, we don't really need to know anything about what they're going to be doing, because we have no way of acquiring that information from the Chinese party leaders, unless you're somewhere in upper echelons. And I can tell you, even looking at this chart, so notice that the move up actually began sometime in early September, but the gap up was from 23rd into 24th of September, where the announcement was made, and then we have more follow through. So I obviously didn't know anything about that. However, I do have my chart and I have my indicators, and notice on this chart we have this green, blue, red, and yellow line. And obviously I didn't know anything about what's going through the heads of the China party leaders, but I do know that something happened right there on the 2nd of May of 2024 this year, when all of a sudden, when this property market, you may have heard, collapsed sometime in not that distant past, like 9 to 12 months ago. They had just a terrible collapse, they called it. But nothing really major happened. I mean, yeah, we sort of dropped from 27 to about 21, but it wasn't like we went to $5. We didn't have the market. So already back here in the early 2024, I sort of kind of knew that they're not really gonna, militarize. So the new economic policy all ended very badly, if you read about this, because what they did is they allowed the private enterprise, basically, so no more common. You can have private property, whereas versus communism, you cannot have private property. That's the definition of communism. So back here in 2020s, early 2020s, after they allowed this expansion, they basically robbed them and killed many of those Nepman and sent them back into gulags. Okay, so they allowed this economic expansion to grow, and then later on they basically just robbed them blind and expropriated. That's the word that came from that time period, and expropriated their gains. So China is there. China is that country which can do that very easily. However, they chose a wise move. I thought they chose not to do that just yet. Okay, they chose not to militarize their society, because back here there was already talk about how we should honor the communist goals, and everybody needs to pull their weight and all that. All right, so it was wonderful while it lasted for about 2 to 3 months, but people were like, that's old news. We need something different this time. And it wasn't really different this time. It was just more, and it was a little unexpected. So notice the way this move unfolded for China. I mean, it was going nowhere. It was going sideways. Now, of course, you can also notice this upward facing arrows, because already as early as May of this year, this is May 2nd, 2024, my indicators were saying something is up. Okay, again, I'm not making this up. This is mathematically calculated. Okay, so as early as May of this year, we're like, okay, something is up, and the risk is very low. Okay, so back then, this is an actual trade. So like, what is our risk? Our risk is from the blue support resistance line to the yellow. So that was about 15% risk. So basically, I was thinking, if all of a sudden they decide to, for some reason, go back to Maoist version of communism, and say that we want to have communism again, like we don't want to have private property, even the weird way that they're having it in China, we would have lost 15%. This is our risk. Okay. However, as you can see, they did not go that route, thankfully, and they have declared the new economic policy of China. So we're now seeing this new NEP. Okay, I highly recommend you look this up. It's very, very interesting time period. And yes, again, on September 24th, they have officially announced it, and clearly it was out of the blue for many, many, many people. It was not exactly out of the blue for me, but as I decided to go ahead and put the money where your mouth is. I guess that's the expression. I actually bought personally some of these shares of the Chinese FXI, China Large Cap. I bought actually on 2 occasions. The first time I bought on 2nd of July of this year, but I got stopped out, and then I decided to go ahead and buy again here on July 16th of 2024, and I was holding it until very recently. They announced this stimulus. I'm like, yeah, great, it looks like we're gaining. Now my position is up 34%, and I figured that's a damn good gain. in a couple of months. So I decided to take some profit. So I sold a third of my position just on October 3rd at $34. I bought initially at $26.60, almost $35 actually sold now. So very nice gain so far on at least partial. I don't know if we're going to continue higher. It looks a little bit overdone, to tell you the truth, and I'll tell you why it looks a little overdone. So maybe we can just kind of look at the way this pattern is structured. Maybe we'll go to the weekly chart, and I will also get to my clients, actual clients letter as well. However, I have to warn you that I cannot read it on air for several reasons. One is that it's full of profanity. And secondly, because I don't want to give too much away about my clients. But I will give the gist of this letter. He was very happy and almost defecated himself when he saw how much his options have gained. Anyways, just looking at this weekly chart of FXI, and I'm going to turn off my indicators. So this is what I'm seeing here. I'm going to draw it out. So basically this pattern, like a giant zigzag, and yeah, it looks very good, like it could go higher, but it also has sort of getting close to where that is going to be petering out. So looks, you can see that we've gained $8 here. There's an $8 potential gain still on the table. So entirely possible this will continue a little higher, but I know that we will see a pullback of some sort pretty soon. We just don't exactly know from which level. Okay, so to minimize regrets for the future, I decided to take some gains because I don't know, maybe it will pull back sharply. It doesn't look like it will, but who knows. Okay, so let's get to my clients finally. This is what he did. He did the same thing as I did, except for the only crucial difference is that I bought the stock, FXI. This is a ticker symbol, FXI. He bought an option. Okay, so what did he buy? On July 16th, so 2 months ago of this year, 2024, he bought an option that was expiring in March of next year, 2025. So we're looking at about 9 months out, I guess. I mean, it's decent. It's not like, I would potentially think about buying even further out to minimize the decay, the theta decay of the option. However, this is a very reasonable option that he chose. He bought $30 calls. There were like a few strikes out the money. They were not exactly next to, but basically I think he was counting on breaking out above this level from May 24th, and it's like a reasonable level. So he bought each one of those contracts at $113 on July 16th, right there. He actually sent me a date here, and he said it was okay to publish. He doesn't mind. This, and then basically we're looking at the same chart. I bought the same date, 16th of July, right there, and I'm waiting. I'm doing nothing, and all of a sudden we're hearing this stimulus being announced, and my position goes up, a few percentage points. Like it went up 14% here on the 25th of September. His position most likely like at least doubled, if not tripled, because notice that how much they move. It went from $113 to October 3rd, which is Thursday, to $600. Okay, that's just mind-boggling gain. Okay, it's 432%. So what does that mean? Okay, so I'm going to open this calculator here. and this is where I'm getting that number from. So we bought at 113, we sold at 602, or the client did. And we sold at 602, so that's 432% gain. Okay, but let's just think in terms of an actual account. So let's say you have a 432% gain, and you have a very small account. You have I don't know, $10,000 account, and you risked $100. Okay, that means you made 432%, but your actual final value is $530. So it's reasonable, but it's not like great. Okay, in this case, in the case of this guy, of my client, he I'm going to just share very briefly that he made it, and he doesn't really need money, but he has a passion for trading as well, and as a result, he has a sizable trading account, right? So when we talk about sizable, we talk about largish positions. $100 is a smallish position. Let's say $1,000 position. So you bought $1,000 worth of stock. Your final value is already $5,000. That's very nice. Okay, if your account is, let's say, $1 million, and you're okay risking larger amounts, you can, let's say you risk $10,000, that's $53,000 profit. And it continues. As you can see in this game, everything is skewed towards larger account. And at the same time, when you have a large account, it sort of implies that your life has been in order of some sort. In other words, you are not really in need of taking money from your trading account and taking care of unexpected expenses, with your child. So let's just say you have a very nice, sizable trading account of, let's say, $10 million, and you risked 100,000, which is a significant amount, but not like the end of the world if you lose it. If you have $10 million, a loss of $100,000, it's painful, but in absolute terms, it's not that bad. And also, if you realize that now your account is $532,000 more. Okay, so next time when you take that into consideration, you can bet higher amounts. Let's say you can take $15,000 as a initial position. Anyway, so you can kind of play with the calculator here and just think about what is it you're trying to achieve in life. But I wanted to show this because this is one of those very straightforward trend following trades. We're not making anything up. We're thinking only of trend following, right? We see that the breakout has occurred. Okay, when we're talking about the breakout for FXI, the breakout, the change in trend from downtrend to uptrend is obvious on the chart. So it's the 2nd of May. Okay, so at that point, basically, we only have to think about positive thoughts, up direction. Okay, so in this case, yes, we simply follow the system. We bought the stock. Client was very smart and bought far out options. So I would recommend buying options at least 9 months, better a year out, to minimize the time decay. All right, guys, what do you think? Make a comment. What do you think about NEP? What do you think about Gentleman in Moscow? I'm reading about halfway through the book. Wonderful book, highly recommended if you haven't yet read it. Okay, let's get to it. I just spent a huge amount of time on the Chinese trade. S&P 500 has also been doing quite well, if the computers cooperate, of course. Anyways, S&P 500 and Dow Jones also hit all-time highs very recently, and we're not we're long. Come on, on this position. There we go. We're long positions in various United States stocks as well. For S&P 500, we're very close to new all-time highs. In fact, this is an all-time highest close on the weekly time frame. Okay, I think my computer is having difficulties, but we'll do our best to finish as much as possible. Yeah, this is an all-time closing high, I believe, or we're getting very close to it. I apologize for the computer glitches. Okay, there. Yes, it's an all-time weekly close. Okay, all-time weekly close. So we're again long various United States stocks. Dow Jones also at all-time weekly close as well.